Good morning, everybody. It's Danny back from Deepsouth Homestead. Actually, I'm going to do porch time today, guys. I'm over at Pecan Grove. I'm actually doing some work on the property over here, and I just, you know, I do my videos when the spirit leads me to do them. And I've stopped this morning to actually do the video. It's actually very early in the morning. I've been over here since right about daylight, taking care of things and feeding cows. We got new Dexters over at Pecan Grove. We got the mini varieties. We have regular Dexters, but we got the mini Dexters now to add in with our cows over here. So we'll be trying to get them, you know, actively going over here. And while I'm working on some of the things it does with the Dexters, I was looking at the beauty of everything that surrounds me here at Pecan Grove, and I just felt compelled to sit down and do a video. I want to talk a little bit about, we're getting a lot of emails, comments, letters, I mean, all kinds of stuff about what we really believe about this electroculture thing. And, you know, and people are telling us, go check out this video, or this person on this video, they talked about it, and they show science on it, they do this, they do that. And guys, let me say something. One thing I don't believe in is playing one channel against another channel. Now, you know, if another channel has an agenda, I don't really care about that. It doesn't mean anything to me, because I don't watch a lot of these channels. But one thing I don't believe in is playing one channel against another channel. I just don't do that. I don't believe in it. You know, if another channel has good content and you feel like it has good content, that's one thing. But when you're trying to play a channel against another channel's, that I don't feel like is right. Everybody is entitled to their own opinion. And that's why we're free. That's what freedom is about. We all have an opportunity to do what we want to do. I choose to do what I want to do based on my own personal beliefs, not based off of science or, you know, or anything to this nature. I do what I've experimented with and I know works for me. Now, I've learned some hard lessons in life. One was, I moved 3 hours north of here one time, and you know, I've been pretty much a master gardener for many years, and I was watching these people grow, and I'm like, I said, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna do some gardening, you know. Of course, I didn't have any tractors or anything. I had to have someone do some ground tilling for me, but I bought me a tiller, and boy, I went to planting, and man, did I learn a quick lesson. 3 hours from me, my gardening techniques that I use here don't work. Now, the basic principles work, but the style did not work. I had to incorporate what they done into what I done to make it work. And even between where I live and Pecan Grove, it's like daylight and dark. I come over here, gardening, the basics are still the same, but things grow totally different here than they do at Deepsouth Homestead. So to say that one thing works across the board, it is not, that would not be accurate, because there are microclimates everywhere. And even at Deepsouth Homestead, I've got 7 different soils at Deepsouth Homestead. And it depends on what I plant and where I planted it as to what does what. I mean, I've learned, like this year, I planted onions where it was real sandy at. And they did not do near as good as where I planted them last year when they made big old giant bulbs. And, you know, it was based on the soil, the type of soil that I planted them in. And I'm always, you know, I'm experimenting. Because when someone says, you remember the definition of an idiot? is someone who keeps doing the same thing over and over and over, and they expect the different results from it. Now, it's not only an idiot, it's someone who's stupid. That's why I don't just stick with one gardening technique, even though it works. It may work, and it may work fantastic, but I'm always wanting to learn. For someone who quits saying that they want to learn, that person's, as far as I'm concerned, is ready to die, because I don't believe in life we ever quit learning. Now, I want to go back and I want to do a little bit of recapturing of some things. We get, like I started off saying, we get lots of videos, lots of comments about videos and lots of personal emails, letters concerning electroculture. Now, electroculture has absolutely nothing to do with batteries and, generators. It has nothing to do with any of that stuff. It's about the electromagnetic current that the earth creates naturally. There's more to it, to electroculture, than just electroculture. And people make fun of planting by the moon or planting by the signs and stuff like this. And when I see people or hear of people, I don't actually see people, but when I hear of people making fun of things like that, it tells me they're not very religious to start with. They don't have God as a leading factor in their life. And if they do, they've not really done any kind of historical studies about the ancient cultures and how they were done biblically, because in the beginning, when the God created the heavens and the earth, he plainly tells us right there in Genesis or Bereshit, whichever way if you speak Hebrew, that he has given us the solar system, the moon, the stars, and stuff like that for signs and for seasons. Now, why would he say they're for signs and they're for seasons? Well, if you go on to study the history of the Hebrew people or the Aramaic people and all, you will understand that they had festivals, that they had feasts and festivals. And in the scriptures, God plainly points out that these are my appointed times. These are God's appointed times. And you ask yourself the question, well, back then, how did they know when these appointed times were? Well, they had the barley feast, the grains and all this kind of stuff, all these different feasts. They had to know when to plant them, because he said, particular days of particular months of Tereshi or Elul or all these different festivals that they did. Things was on specific days. Well, how did they determine these days? They done it by the moon. High holy days, all this stuff was done by the moon. And they had criers that actually watched the first slivers of the moon to know when the new moons was and all that. But that's not all of it. On the floors of the ancient temples was the Mazzaroth, which was a giant circle of all the events and the solar system and all that God had laid out for them in the beginning, so that they would know the times and the seasons for everything. And people get confused today because the old devil himself can't stand when God has something. So he created, we're going to call it the zodiac, astrology. Astrology with the zodiac and the Mazzaroth they are the same in some aspects, but in other aspects are totally different. The Mazzaroth has nothing to do with your signs and your history and your fortunes and all this stuff, where the zodiac does deal with that, and astrology does deal with that. Now, is there anything to planting by the moon? Yes, there's a lot to planting by the moon. The moon controls the tides of the earth. It controls lots of aspects about the earth. Crops planted in the ground benefit from certain phases of the moon. When the moon is in its waning phase, the root crops do better than they do, when it's not in the waning phases. Because, and you have to understand, it has to do with water content in the soil and water content not being in the soil, things of this nature. God created all of this so that we would understand how everything works. The whole solar system works off of frequencies. We know that music frequency has been changed. What is it? Music frequency, I have so much stuff in my head. I think it's 963 hertz is what is called the perfect harmony, I believe, music frequency. Birds that you hear in the background here, they have a particular frequency. God himself says if man did not praise him, that even the rocks in the hills would cry out. And that means they would have a particular frequency that is appealing to God. Angels have frequencies that they work off of. There are certain branches of the United States military that uses frequencies to distort things in the human body. I mean, they can make your skin feel like it's on fire and burning just through frequencies, even though it's not. People who are in the fields of frequency for the United States military have discovered frequencies for the heart, the brain, the kidneys, the liver, the organs of the body. They can basically shut down or control any of these organs through frequencies. This is part of the new warfare that was used, especially in riot controls and stuff like this. And that's where AI comes in part with all this. And AI knows how to use frequencies. I mean, why do you think we have 5G technology? Why do they call it 5G? I mean, we have different frequencies. These things work off of different frequencies. And frequencies is nothing new. So electroculture is nothing more than harnessing these electromagnetic frequencies that the Earth does naturally. It comes in the North Pole and the South Pole, and the Earth absorbs these different frequencies and emits them in different ways. That's why we tell people, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, do clockwise if you're going to do an antenna. It's been proven. This stuff goes back to the 1700s. Most of the studies that you'll find is in European countries over there, because the United States has banned a lot of them. Even European countries banned a lot of them because of Big Ag had contracts with chemical companies, and they actually want advertisements telling people, yes, electroculture would grow more food, but you don't want to grow more food because then you'll have too much food and it'll spoil. They done this because of chemical companies. They were getting kickbacks. They had done things with chemical companies. So we have to understand how all this stuff works and how it works together. Now, I want us to be able to just grasp a hold to this. It's not magic. It's not science. It's what happens in the atmosphere around us naturally. During lightning storms, we have static electricity, which creates nitrogen in the water droplets, which goes to the plants in the soil, which causes the plants to boost after a thunderstorm. This is not magic. This is just how the earth works. And when you put a copper coil on the south side of a plant, and the magnetic field in the northern hemisphere is traveling from north to south, then it has to go through the plant to get to that. And guys, there's so much out there. I've done this for over 30 years, and I don't necessarily talk about it because it's not been a big deal. Now, me and Mr. Mickey at Hills Mill Homestead, we done videos a year or so back where we talked about it. Mr. Mickey's been doing it for many, many years. Lots of people used to ask me, well, how's your crops doing so well? And I didn't say anything about it. Some things, I don't reveal everything I do. But now that there's so much going on with our solar system, there's so much going on with the geoengineering, with the tampering with the weather and modifications and all this kind of stuff, I felt like it's time to just step out and say, hey guys, this is some of the things I've been doing for years. And I would like to see people, grow food. And that's what I'm all about, is growing food. Now, I'm not telling you got to believe it. If you don't want to believe it, that's your prerogative. But don't say it don't work unless you're willing to give it a try. And if you give it a try, do it right so that you get an honest result from it. You can't just go out there and just stick something in the ground and say, oh, well, I tried. It doesn't work like that. There is a rhythm to the madness that's involved in it. And you have to understand the magnetism and magnetic fields. And why do you think CB radios have copper wires, you know, the old ones wrapped around fiberglass antennas and stuff like this, and it's wrapped in a particular direction, it's wrapped in a particular way, in a particular gauge wire. I mean, all this stuff plays a part. And I just want us to understand and not get all up in the air and huffy. If you don't want to try it, then don't try it. If you don't believe, then hey, it's never going to work for you anyway. And the one thing that gets me, the people that throw a fit about this the worst, and about organic gardening. Now, I do as much organic gardening as I can, okay? But let me say something about that. The people who cry out the most about, I can't believe you put a synthetic fertilizer in your soil, are the same people who will go to a doctor, and a doctor will prescribe a medication, and they'll put a medication that the doctor prescribes into their body because a doctor told them to, which was a synthetic product. Your body is an organic organism. It should never have synthetic stuff put into it. And you'll go take synthetic medicines all day long believing that they work for you, and because you believe they work for you, then they more likely will work for you because that's what you believe. The same thing with the electroculture. Don't badger something that you yourself are already doing to your own bodies. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm trying to just be honest and speak truth here. We strain at a gnat and we swallow a fly many times. The Bible talks about, don't talk about the splinter that's in your brother's eye until you get the beam out of yours first. In other words, don't let your own pride get in your way of being able to look at something or say, hey, you know what, there might be something to this. I'm going to go check it out and just see. Give it a shot. What do you have to lose? You have absolutely nothing to lose. And if it does better for you, praise the Lord. If it don't, move on. You know, I mean, I believe that the mind is a powerful thing. I believe that because the Bible says if you had the faith of the grain of mustard seed, now that's tiny, you could move a mountain. You could say, move from here to there, and it would do it because of the power of the mind. We don't utilize any of that power. We don't have any of that faith that God says we need. And the same thing will go for growing vegetables or anything else. If you don't have the faith to believe that what you're doing will work, it will never work. So think about the fact before you go to hollering and jumping on somebody about what they do on other channels. Think about the fact, do you put a synthetic pill in your mouth that a doctor prescribed to you into an organic organism like your body to make it feel better? Or they never cure you, they just treat you. There's no such thing as a cure for anything, they just treat stuff. Stop and think about that before you go and start badgering someone about what they do and how they do it. Think about what you're doing to your own system. Organic versus non-organic. A plant don't know the difference between organic fertilizer and synthetic fertilizer. Your body don't know your body knows the difference. I can say that because when you get a synthetic pill put into your body, then what happens is you have side effects from those synthetic pills, and they lead to having to take a pill for the side effect that you have, and another side effect from that, another pill, another side effect, another pill. It's called big pharma, and that's what keeps them in business. Now plants, I have to say plants are a little bit like that also. If you just dumped commercial fertilizer and kept dumping it and kept dumping it and kept dumping it, yes, you're going to load salt content up in your soil, and you're going to destroy your soil if you're not going back actively putting some organic matter back in there with that while you're using it. You have to balance everything. That's the reason the scripture says Jesus ate butter and honey so that he would know to choose the good and refuse the evil. The lesson behind that is moderation. Everything in moderation. A little butter is good for you. A little honey is good for you. Eat too much butter, you get sick. Eat too much honey, you get sick. Everything in moderation. Gardening is no different. I use bone meal, I use blood meal, I use all these things, but I understand the chemical compound of them. I understand the breakdown of them, how it takes 4 to 5, 6 months on a lot of them before it breaks down to a point where you can actually utilize it for a plant. And I amend a lot of this stuff into my soils way ahead of time so that when the time comes, I don't need as much commercial fertilizer. But I also understand that when I'm planting my Danny corn out here, if I go out here and dump blood meal to it after I plant it, it's totally useless. Because blood meal is going to take 4 to 6 months to break down. Only about 8% of it up front is going to take off and get utilized. The corn's just going to be tall, spindly little old stalks. I've got to put some fertilizer down that's going to act immediately, which means I've got to use a synthetic version to get it going. But I put the blood meal there also so that as time goes on, I'm building up the nitrogen in the soil, and then I'll plant cover crops, and the cover crops that produce nitrogen in the soil, so that next year I don't have to have as much, and then the year after that I don't have to have as much again, and it pretty soon gets to where I've got rich soil. I mean, these are things that I take into compensation, and I do. So guys, let's keep our heads on our shoulders and let's not get crazy about things, and let's just try to exist together, and let's just try to do what we can to help one another instead of badgering one another and trying to say, oh, this is stupid, that's stupid, you know. There's enough stupid to go around in the world, and yes, it should hurt, because if stupid hurt, there would be less hurt in the world. Zach from American Homestead says that. I love it. But anyway, I got to get off of here. I got things to do, but I want to just spend some time with you guys this morning and tell you, look, if you don't want to try certain things, don't try it. But another thing is, don't knock it till you do try it. Science today, modern science, is set up and is mostly a lie. Some of it's accurate, some of it's not accurate. Most of it has an agenda behind it, because people from big universities get big endorsements, financial endorsements from rich people to lead things in a particular direction. So therefore, lots of the tests and the results you see from these major universities lean in a particular direction because of the funding that they get, not because it's necessarily accurately true. So be careful about the science that you listen to, and go back and look at the historical studies on everything. That's what I do. And I'm in my mid-60s, and I actively still try to learn as much as I can. I'm not trying to say that what I do is 100% accurate, because a year from now I may find out some technique that blows mine out of the water. And if I do, I'm going to use it, and I will promote it. So that's how I roll. Okay, guys, I love you and I appreciate you, and I got to get off from here. The birds are telling me the sun's getting up, getting warm. A lot to do today. Thank you for watching Porch Time, and continue to share it, subscribe to it, follow. Guys, I need y'all to subscribe, and I need you to give me a thumbs up, put me in the algorithm, so that we can help more people come to the knowledge of growing more and better nutritionally valued food. Thank you guys from Deepsouth Homestead.